The brigands brought destruction to every corner of the universe. The galaxy must be defended.
I heard you were looking for me.
We haven't been formally introduced.
Supergirl, only in theaters June 26th.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kulturecast, crossing over with the projection booth, and the projection booth crossing over with the Kulturecast. I am the host of the Kulturecast, Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by my good friend all the way from the dying planet of Krypton. He's come to save our souls. It's Superman, boy, child himself, the host of the projection booth, Mike White.
I want to say dits, but it's going to sound like tits.
Oh my. If you clicked on this episode, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the sequel to last year's Superman film, Supergirl. That's what it's called. If you need any more explanation as to what it is, you haven't seen the advertising for this film. Neither have I, because they didn't really advertise it. Or they sort of did. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. I knew nothing about it going into it. But Mike and I are going to be talking about this year's most recent DCEU film, Supergirl. So the film is directed by Gillespie, written by Ana Nogueira, and it stars Millie Alcock reprising her role as Supergirl from the end of Superman. It also stars the overwhelmingly, Belgian actor Matthias Schoenaerts, which is just the most Belgian name you can think of, Eve Ridley, David Corenswet, Emily Beecham, David Corenswet comes back as Superman, Jason Momoa as Lobo, and I shit you not, because I guess he was just not busy, Seth Rogen as an alien. Yeah. I literally couldn't. It's like Martin Scorsese as an alien. I guess he just wanted SAG minimum. The film follows Supergirl as she celebrates her 23rd birthday and tries to save a girl's sword who she meets in a bar while going on a pub crawl on a planet that has a red sun. We will be spoiling the film, obviously, because that's the kind of people we are, so this is a warning ahead of time. So before we spoil it, Mike, should people be spending their hard-earned cash to go see Supergirl?
In a word, no.
The review was 2 words, shit sandwich. I can't say that.
So do you think that Seth Rogen was jealous of Kamal Nanjiani because he did the voice of that little cute alien in Men in Black International, and Seth Rogen gets to do the little cute alien for this one?
Was Seth Rogen not the voice of Babu Frick in Star Wars?
Oh.
I'm just kidding. It should be funny for anyone to think that that's the case. I'm just putting a fake piece of information into the internet. Maybe someone put it on IMDb. I don't know. This is the second time he's played a space alien. I don't know why Seth Rogen is in this movie. It's fucking bizarre. Yeah,
and it took me a while. I mean, he might be the best character in the movie. This is a strange film, right? It's kind of a Western, like a Western in space. And I mean, we really have seen this so many times where it's basically, it's True Grit, right? It's like she goes on a quest to hire a killer to take care of her revenge or track down the bad guy. And you've got the reluctant hero that has to help out but doesn't want to, and then hilarity ensues. At least I've always wondered. So when I was a kid growing up, I had no idea that Superman was solar powered. Like, I had heard, oh yeah, he needs the power of the yellow sun in order to make him powerful. Like, Krypton had a red sun, we've got a yellow sun, so now he's powerful. And then I was reading I think it was a screenplay for one of the rejected versions of Superman 5, aka Superman Lives, the whole Death of Superman storyline. And in one of those, there was somebody had it was very Mr. Burns. Like, Mr. Burns had like a big thing, and he was charging people for sunlight, right? He was blocking off the sun from Springfield. Right. Might have been the first movie, I can't remember. But in the Superman movie, Lex Luthor was basically doing the same thing, or Brainiac, I don't know. And Superman was running out of gas, basically, and he was powerless without any sun. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, he's literally solar powered. Like, I knew that the yellow sun helped power him up and everything, but I didn't know that it was like what happens at nighttime. I mean, he is the thing that Republicans always talk about when they're talking about how solar energy will never work. What happens when the sun goes down? What happens on cloudy days? I mean, if it gets really overcast in Metropolis, does he start to feel a little logy? Does he have to like run and get a coffee or something?
I don't know, because I am not that big of a Superman guy myself. So the fact that so much of this movie hinged on that was not a surprise to me, but just like one of those things where I was like, man, we talked about it with the Lord of the Rings show, the podcast of power that we do together that's coming out later this year when we're readdressing the second season of that show before the third season comes out. And it's like they took one thing from Superman and just blew it up in this movie into the entire thing. And it's like, oh, the sun and the green sun and the yellow sun. It's like, okay, like yeah, like again, I know that is a thing in the Superman comics. However, that doesn't mean that I want the entire movie to hinge on that. And like you said, if they're never going to actually address it, why do it so much? Why have so much of this movie hinge on it? But I don't know the rules because I'm honestly not that big of a Superman guy. Admittedly, we went and saw this movie, which means the movie should maybe explain it a little bit more than they did. But, you know, that's to say the movie should have explained a lot of things. Like, why is this just Supergirl of the Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, but the low rent version. Like, this just feels really... It's either that or it's Supergirl and Grogu. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like The Mandalorian. Like, we saw this movie last month, and it was better a month ago. And that movie wasn't that great either, but at least it had Jeremy Allen White as Rada the Hutt. Like, you know, this movie has hit as an alien, like, which... fucking for whatever goddamn fucking reason you tell me, because I'm so confused as to what his inclusion in this movie is other than just random. I don't understand.
Does that really bother you? Because like it barely even registered that it was him.
It's so distracting.
Wow. Okay. Because I'm just like at one point I was like, that kind of sounds like Seth Rogen, and then I completely forgot. So yeah, it's like, all right, yeah, it didn't bug me, but okay.
But you can see how it would bug someone who recognizes Seth Rogen's voice. It takes me out of the scene completely. I'm just like, and again, it's a cameo. It is a glorified cameo, which again, fine. But if this movie had done anything more than it does, which is very little, it probably wouldn't have been that distracting. But this movie, like you said, is kind of a Western, but also kind of Guardians of the Galaxy adjacent, and also nothing like the Superman movie in terms of tone. It's like this exists in a universe that's already been established that we're not privy to, that doesn't have anything to do with Superman. And I appreciate that may be entirely the point of this film, but I get the distinct feeling Supergirl ain't going to be coming back here anytime soon. It sure doesn't fucking seem like it by the end of the movie either. So it almost feels like everything that happened in this movie is completely pointless. Like, genuinely. I can't imagine what point they're going to return to in any future films. Maybe the character of Ruth will come back, but that's about it. I can only imagine.
God, I hope she doesn't. Ruth is so lame. And that's the thing, is like, okay, let's get into brass tacks. Supergirl is supposed to be the hero of this film. She's supposed to be our main character. Yeah. She is constantly getting rescued, be it by Ruth, Lobo, possibly even Superman through some of the memories that she has, some of the stuff that is going on with her recalling this stuff. She doesn't feel like she's the hero of her own movie. And it feels like she's sidelined so many times. She is on a planet where there's no yellow sun. She's drunk. She's poisoned. Just all of these things. She's taken out by green sun. And that was always the thing. Sidebar. That was always the thing about Superman that I couldn't fucking stand. Like, when I was either reading the comics, which I barely did, but I read a lot of comics. I did a lot of research for I wrote an essay about the death of Superman Lives kind of thing. I call it Superman Grounded. If you want to read that, you can read it in the Cashier's de Cinema book, which is called Impossibly Funky. So I did a lot of research on Superman. The thing I couldn't stand was this whole, well, green kryptonite can kill him. Red kryptonite does this. Gold kryptonite does that. Blue kryptonite. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, oh, and I'm going to say this wrong, nerd, so be prepared. Oh my God, Lex Luthor has this blue kryptonite. Now Superman is old. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? So like oh, she's on a planet with a green sun. I'm like, and like, okay, I guess this kills her because kryptonite is also green. All right. But anyway.
Do you know about pink kryptonite, Mike?
Does it make you gay?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So it was a joke in the 2003 Supergirl comic that they made a pink kryptonite that I think made Jimmy Olsen like slightly more effeminate. As a gag on exactly what you're talking about, where it's like the fact that there were like a rainbow of kryptonites now, like including the pink one, which makes you gay. Like it's a real thing in the comic, but it was obviously like, it's like Deadpool, right? It's like part of the mythology of the world, but it's absurdist in its own like, execution. But yeah, there's pink kryptonite and it actually makes you gay, or at least the characters in the comic book.
Okay, great. Yeah. But yeah, she doesn't seem to have a whole lot of agency in this movie. And even the way that it's told when it comes to the flashbacks of her and I guess this must be before Brainiac shrinks the city. Doesn't he do that? Shrinks the city of Argo and transports it to Earth or something. So all these little people, little Kryptonians in there. Anyway, I know I'm getting way past the lore, but like the way that story is told, we're kind of going, we've got some momentum, and then we just hit the brakes, and then boom, here we are. Now we've got the backstory. We've got David Krumholtz. Even that, it's like you see her meeting Crypto once, and then you see the why she met him and all this kind of stuff. You sideline Crypto through this whole thing as well.
Whole movie.
Which was totally understandable. Movie. I know a lot of people were like, oh yeah, he was the best character in there. I didn't care for Crypto. I was just like, man, take control of your dog. Like, I can't stand dogs that are just that wild. It's like, no, you better calm down, boy.
But this is too much of a correction.
But at the same time, I mean, this is totally a James Gunn property. And I'm just like, all right, I just saw this in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We sidelined Rocket through the whole fucking thing. And then we do tell like flashbacks of Rocket growing up. And I was like, okay, so you just replace the main character in the flashbacks with her instead of with Rocket or instead of with Crypto. So I'm just like, this is like a greatest hits kind of thing. Like, I was just like, this is so by the numbers, even the way that they're shooting the fight scenes. I'm like, okay, I've seen this before, man. Like, this is not showing me anything new. And then you have the whole question of how violent is Supergirl versus Superman. We had this whole thing back with like Man of Steel where it was him just, breaking necks and stuff and destroying property like crazy. She has no problem just killing people like mad in this movie. And especially that they changed the end of the comic that this was based on, and rather than showing mercy and like sending this guy to the forbidden zone or whatever it is, that she fucking ganks the bad guy at the end. Sorry, spoilers, but it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, you're supposed to be one of the good guys and you just cold-blooded murder this guy. And it feels like, sorry, Chris, I'm on a rant. It feels like she is doing that because the girl is pure. And I will say it's not just pure as far as her heart. I think this whole thing, because of the bad guys being sex traffickers, it's basically like protecting her virginity. And it feels like the whole thing is like, well, Supergirl's already sullied, but this girl's pure. All these other girls are pure. They even had fucking little kids in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's like, for fuck's sake, man, just pick a new movie, pick a new script.
I think what's ultimately really disheartening, before I talk about what you talked about, I want to mention this because I'm going to forget otherwise. Ana Nogueira is writing not only this film, she's also writing the script for the upcoming Wonder Woman film and an untitled Teen Titans film. Please, no, please. This is a script issue, not a film, not a filmmaker issue. And I actually personally have no issue with Supergirl killing people. And I will tell you why. Because ultimately, she's not an important enough character for this to be some sort of thing where it's like breaking the entire law of the universe. Superman, okay. Supergirl has a clearly different way of handling things and a different way of going about things. And I think it's smart to have a character like her in this universe that is diametrically opposed to the way Superman does things, but not a villain per se. I guess James Gunn says she's more of an anti-hero in this movie. I guess she's an anti-hero because she kills people. That's about it, that's killing people does not an anti-hero make. There are other things that go with that. I would say, maybe you would agree, Han Solo, bit of an anti-hero. Only really ever had to kill one person to prove it. That's it. And even then, retroactively trying to change the way that hits, because apparently he can't kill someone who has a fucking gun on him to begin with. I guess we all apply to the United States law of rules in space now too. And that's the thing, I don't mind Supergirl killing the villain at the end of this movie. I do understand and agree with you in juxtaposition with the Man of Steel of it all. It seems a little weird, but I think here it's because it's not Superman doing it. It's a character that's like a tertiary superhero in that universe. If Batman doesn't want to kill people, fine. But that doesn't mean Red Hood won't. And Red Hood is part of in the good version of Red Hood, he's kind of part of Batman's cadre of younger people that he works with. But Red Hood uses guns, straight up dead ass pistols. If this is the direction they want to go with Supergirl and have her be Red Hood adjacent in terms of the way she conducts herself, fine. It's one of those things where there's no universe where the character of Krem of the Yellow Hills, because they say his name that way 1,000,000 times in the movie, there's no universe where if that guy was left unchecked, he would not continue to do what he's doing. But I don't think there's enough of him in the
child trafficking.
Child trafficking. There's just not enough of him in the movie to make him a villain. That's my problem. There's not enough of him in the movie as a despicable villain for us to, by the end of the movie, get on board with her killing him. I don't see an issue with it from a future storytelling, planting and payoff standpoint, but from a, did they earn it in this movie? No, because he's not a villain enough to warrant her going out of her ways, possibly her morality going further than her morality would to kill him. Because that was always the thing in Man of Steel, right? Zod was never going to stop unless Superman fucking killed him. And I would even say, in Man of Steel, they earned that. It's not great, but at least it's they're destroying the whole goddamn city. So they kind of earn him needing to be killed because he's never going to stop. Here, this guy is a fucking pissant trafficker. Is she going to go and kill every single one of these assholes in the universe that they live in? No. So it's just, that's the problem. The stakes here needed to be higher because otherwise, like you said, it rings a little hollow that she's just so willing to kill him at the end.
Yeah. This villain is not very villainous. Again, the quest is to find him, and then occasionally she does, and Lobo's there. And Lobo isn't interested in him. He's interested in another guy. He's interested in basically Taserface adjacent guy.
Right. The second in command here.
Yeah. Who we never, other than a name. And I thought, and I'm not a Lobo guy. I never really came across Lobo at all. So I thought that he was talking about a person named Bastich. I didn't know that was his swear word. And then after he said Bastich a couple times, I was like, is he making a Johnny Dangerously reference?
He is literally just like Deadpool, but in the DC universe, right? Is that the feeling you got from the way the character's being used in the movie? Maybe not the fourth wall breaking, but just the too cool for school thing. I'm not a Lobo guy. A lot of the DC stuff, there's blind spots all over the place. He's a mercenary and a bounty hunter from, that's it. That's all I knew going into the movie. Jason Momoa was fine.
It's just weird to have Jason Momoa after we just saw him as Dude Bro Aquaman as well.
Right. Now he's just Dude Bro Bounty Hunter.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? You guys are okay with this? You're all right?
That 3 years ago, by the way.
No, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And he basically closed out the DCEU and now he's back as this. I'm like, that's weird. Why would you do that?
Money. Lots of
it. True.
And he also, I think he petitioned to be the character of Lobo specifically. Momoa did.
Oh, he did. Yes.
Yeah. Which is, look, he has the look, he has the personality. let me ask you thought question, like our dear friend Richard likes to do. Would it have been that big of a deal if he hadn't been Aquaman?
I don't think it would have.
Right. Let's pretend there's a universe where Aquaman never existed, because effectively we're being asked to do that anyways now. Would it be that big of a deal if he's just playing Lobo now? For the first time, Momoa is getting involved in a superhero property and it's Lobo.
No, I would have no problem with that.
Right.
Though they needed to use the character better.
Right. That's more kind of my point. Like, it's a problem, obviously, in our reality because Momoa has played this fucking character before, literally in the movies that these movies are rebooting. But that doesn't mean he's not good. It's just he's given fuck all to do. And then he disappears in the climax in a way that I was like, oh, he's coming back. And then he doesn't come back. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is that time where he shows back up. And no, Supergirl shows back up and doesn't manage to turn the villain into a puddle of goo when she drags him going 100 miles an hour through the air along the ground, which I don't fucking understand any of. Like, the problem with Superman for me and any of the Kryptonians is they're gods, literally, in comparison to us as humans. And so if they hit us, they should punch holes through us, unless they're like limiting themselves by the power that they have, which we've never really seen any of them do. They're limited externally, but we don't ever see them limiting themselves internally. That would be an interesting conversation in these movies to have. I'm sure they've done in the comics because it's been around long enough that there's no way that they haven't. I mean, that's effectively just One Punch Man, right? Like, I don't know if you know about One Punch Man, but he ends all conflicts with one punch because he's so strong. And so that becomes a mental problem for him where he's like, I don't like this. I don't like ending every conflict with one punch. I want more than that. That's a Superman problem.
Right.
This movie, like, doesn't even fucking address it because she should be killing everyone she punches immediately. There's no everyone here is a metahuman because you can't force us to forget that, motherfuckers. All of them should just be dead. And Superman leans into that so much and like makes it clear because he's fighting himself through most of the movie that's what the fucking only person that could ever stand up to Superman is Superman. And in this movie, it's like she should just walk up to people and flick them and they go flying through the fucking air and their heads are caved in. Like, that's the level of a Kryptonian when they're in the yellow sun is their gods and they cannot die.
Right.
Where is that in this fucking movie? For real.
Like, I don't even get, because the first time she gets poisoned and she's trying to make herself throw up, I think that's on a planet with a yellow sun.
It's either that or red sun.
It just feels like they're going like making like crazy moves just to like keep this stuff straight, but not doing a very good job at it. It feels like I'm more invested in the movie than the movie is.
I'm invested in this movie, I think, for the same reason that you are, which is that Superman movie in retrospect. And I mean, again, we talked about it a year ago. You can go listen to that podcast on your respective feed and my respective feed. That movie was really good. Like, I've rewatched it since and I enjoyed it. Like that scene towards the end of the movie where he's in that chair and he's like, show me the video of my parents. Like, you know what? That scene still works. Like, for me, like that, the emotional core of that movie work still. This movie doesn't even attempt any of that emotionality or like character building. And you know what? I just don't know if Ana Nogueira has the ability as a screenwriter to match what James Gunn. Look, you know, James Gunn stole the script of Guardians from the Galaxy and took the woman's name off of it who got and should have gotten the original credit. But here's the thing. There are so many people that have done that then can't hold the jockstrap or the G-string or no underwear of the person before them. James Gunn, unfortunately, can. He can back up, for the most part, a lot of the decisions that he's made are coming from him directly. And I think he can back up what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy by saying, look, I've actually written it like 8 other times, 8 different ways, and it's still pretty good. This movie could have used more James Gunn because it seems like low budget James Gunn in a way that like I've only ever seen with his movie. You know, like, was Suicide Squad a low rent version of Guardians of the Galaxy in a lot of ways? Yes. But it still worked because it was doing something that Guardians of the Galaxy was never allowed to do, which was have an edge to it, like a real edge to it. This feels like a James Gunn movie without any of the intention or character building that James Gunn does so well, which is understanding how to write compelling characters. Even if the stuff that the characters are doing is not super compelling, I still think James Gunn understands how to create compelling, interesting characters. And this movie does not have any of that at all.
No, No. And I wanted to like more of these people. Man, really, I could not get behind the girl seeking revenge. And I really wanted to get behind Supergirl. Again, you know how much I love when people act drunk.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. Holy shit. It's like the first quarter of the movie is just like, what is Mike going to think? Is all I could think when I was watching this movie. Like, Jesus, Mike's going to hate this fucking movie.
Yeah. And I was okay with a lot of it. But it was still just like, oh, all right. Yeah. And just like the gender politics of this, like, I guess they had to be girl space pirates that try to take over the stagecoach or space bus that they're on. It's weird to me. And I guess it's because she's with a human or a humanoid person that she just can't fly whenever she wants to. I mean, that's got to be really limiting when you are a god flying amongst the stars, that you just have to like avoid the red suns whenever possible. And for God's sakes, don't go near any green ones. You just have to have like a mental model as far as like where you're bopping around. The whole thing of her flying a spaceship, I was just like,
that's Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's fucking Peter Quill. Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised it wasn't even the same ship.
And you know what? And this is the other thing I want to talk about. Man, I might get some hate here. I might get some. These guys are a bunch of haters. You know what? I just want to address that head on, because there's one review on iTunes that always makes me laugh. It's like, these guys hated the Justice League Zack Snyder cut. I didn't hate it. I actually gave you plenty of reasons why I didn't like it that are intelligently thought through, that aren't just me saying I didn't like it because it fucking sucked. So I just want to head that off here by saying the music in this movie might be the most obnoxious goddamn thing in this movie. And man, when it's not James Gunn doing the needle drops, it seems like it's not James Gunn doing the needle drops, and it's obvious it's not James Gunn doing the needle drops, because it was, again, I don't want to get hate on the internet, but I'm going to say it anyways, this is just as bad with the needle drops as that first Suicide Squad movie was.
I mean, it literally starts with a needle drop. It starts with Crypto dropping a needle onto a record. And with those Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he's very purposeful when it comes to the songs that he's selecting. Do they always stick to like the same, era? Not necessarily. Like I would say the first Guardians is pretty solid in the 70s. The second one should have been more in the 80s to kind of like follow along a little bit more when it comes to, like I like the idea of he starts off with a cassette, a Walkman in the first one, and then he moves to the Zune in the second one. Like I was hoping that would be a thing, like, and then maybe a CD player, or actually probably should have been a CD player and then a Zune in the third one, and like really kind of focus more on like 70s, 80s than 90s. But they go away from that pretty quickly. But here it just feels very random, and it feels very, it's like kind of reminded me of Captain Marvel or Ms. Marvel, whatever. Not Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, the one.
You're talking about Brie Larson?
One. Yeah, the Brie Larson one. It just felt like that, where it's like, hey, we set this in the past, so we're going to put all these songs in here. And it's like, yeah, but you're not doing that great of a job with this.
At least there's no de-aged Samuel L. Jackson in this movie.
Yeah. Thank goodness for small favors. But there's so much fucking Superman. I couldn't get over how much Superman there was in a Supergirl film. And that sounds like a weird complaint, but it's like, you don't need to have him constantly in this movie. I thought it was just going to be missed phone call after missed phone call kind of a thing. And then when she actually picks up, I was like, oh, okay, well, hopefully that's the last time we see him. And again, I don't dislike the character, but it's like, get out of this Supergirl movie, Superman. Like, give her some fucking agency. And then they end the whole movie with her back in Metropolis. It's like, okay, yeah, this is a strange way to do this.
Well, she had to get there for whatever the next movie is, The Man of Tomorrow, the movie that she's in. So it's like she had to get back to Earth. Okay. Like, so it's, I don't want to say this feels like a waste of time, but if the entire intention of this movie is just to get her back to Earth, you could have done that in 5 minutes. She was already there. Technically, for fuck's sake, she was there at the end of the first movie. The problem with David Corenswet being in this movie is the thing we just talked about with Jackass having all those clips from better movies. It just makes me want to watch Superman, which is a better movie. It makes me actively want to turn this movie off and turn on Superman. And that is never a good sign when you're watching something. It is a very risky thing to do to remind someone of something better in your untested film, it is a shot calling thing. Like, I'm going to call my shot, but rarely does it ever, if ever, work out. It's that same, like, I wouldn't say like hanging a lantern on it, but do you remember in Apocalypse, X-Men Apocalypse, where they're like going and seeing Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, the third one's always the worst or whatever.
It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you acknowledging that this movie sucks, or are you trying to get out in front of it? That has that same effect for me that these kinds of things do, where it's like you're reminding me of something else that's better, or you're reminding me of something else that's equally terrible, just like you are, and you're acknowledging the fact that you're terrible ahead of time. Like, I have a real problem with that, because like you said, don't show Superman until the end. Like, literally. And by the way, making me think of Superman, David Krumholtz equals Bradley Cooper in terms of level of star power.
Yeah, I love Krumholtz. I absolutely love him. But yeah. And then that weird little throw off line where he's just like, oh yeah, there's Kal-El being sent off. My crazy brother wants him to conquer the world. I'm like, okay, that's a weird flex. Like, so should you be like, well, my brother, he's going to ruin the world, the universe or something. He's about conquering and I'm about peace or something. Yeah, nothing. It was just like, oh, well,
there he goes.
Yeah, bye.
Why do they call him Solo? It reminded me of that scene from The Hobbit. You shall go to the Westlands and you will meet a man. They call him Strider, but you can call him Aragorn or whatever Matt calls him in Always Sunny, Viggo Morgenstern or whatever. Like, it's just, you don't need to do that. We know that this is a fucking movie that is taking place in, like, the other movie came out last year and that's the only movie. Do you really need to remind us of the only other movie that exists here? Like, it's not like they do. It's not like they have John Cena in this movie where it's like, oh, right, or Peacekeeper. Oh, right, that's part of this. Like, there's none of that. It's just fucking Superman. Like, that was a movie ago. Calm down, James Gunn. This ain't the MCU. We're not like layers upon layers upon layers of things. It feels like somebody watched a bunch of James Gunn movies and went, I could do that too. And it's like, no, you can't. And that's kind of why James Gunn is the guy in charge of DC now, because nobody else can really do what he does. And when given the opportunity to, they're just like, hey, you know what? My favorite scene in Inglourious Basterds was the beginning. Let's recreate that in our movie. And it's like, what the fuck are you thinking? Anytime now there's two characters sitting across from one another at a table, all I can think of is they must have seen Inglourious Basterds, because that's all it ever is. And it's always a worse version of that, which is to say it's already a Quentin Tarantino thing. But this just feels derivative of other things and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't hold James Gunn in that high of esteem. I think I've seen Guardians 2 one time because it just was such a ripoff of Empire Strikes Back. And I remember it was like 3 weeks after the movie came out. I think IO9 was just like, oh, there's similarities between this and Empire Strikes Back. I'm like, there's fucking lines that are basically from Empire Strikes Back, like sidelining a character where I'm just like, okay, well, that, like Mantis is totally C-3PO when she's got her secret. And I'm like, and C-3PO was in there with the Ugnaughts and he got, destroyed. And hurry up, Chewbacca, and repair him. He's going to tell you that everything is going to happen on Bespin here. And I'm just like, the whole thing, and with the fathers and the sons and stuff. And of course, that's like James Gunn's thing.
Yeah, boy, isn't it? He's been dealing with daddy trauma his whole life.
Oh, it's like him and P.T. Anderson should get together and have a beer or something.
Yeah. My dad didn't love me. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, mine neither.
Yeah, same, buddy, but I didn't sit and make a fucking movie about it. Like, a movie with Kurt Russell as your stand-in dad. Like, good. Man, let's talk about that for a second. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, atrocious. And that's James Gunn doing his own thing. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was so bad, and I really have like what's the term? Anaphorisian response to Chris Pratt that I don't want to see anything he's in anymore. Like, I will actively stay away from projects that he's in, because anytime I see anything that's him in a movie, he doesn't seem like the kind of person I'd want to spend any time with. Frankly, he seems like the kind of person who I've cut people like that out of my life, where they're like, AI is not God and AI will never replace God. And it's like, oh, you're one of those now. Fun. I'm good. Mm-hmm. Chris Pratt strikes me as a very unfun person to be around in person. So I just have not watched mostly any of the Guardian stuff either again or the third one. I don't even care. Like, I know it came out. I know people said it was good. I don't care. Just couldn't get me to watch it.
I've seen it a few times, and I have to say it's very emotionally manipulative.
So it's a James
It
Gunn
is-
movie.
Yeah, I mean, it is totally the Rocket story, and you get to see all kinds of horrible things being done to animals. It's really very tough to watch.
Why would I willingly go watch that?
I do not know. And
Right.
like, I basically, after the first time, I was like, I really don't ever need to see this again. Andrea has turned it on many times since then, and I will either put on my headphones and try to not pay attention, or I will leave the room because it's very traumatic, and I just don't need that.
I think my issue with the Supergirl is that same level of emotional manipulation. Like, look, it's that joke now of the post John Wick universe that we live in, where it's like, you fuck with the dog, you fuck with the boss, you get killed by the boss because you fucked with the dog. And so Supergirl traffics in that. But like, John Wick is kind of the only movie that gets to do that, because John Wick doesn't force it down our fucking throats like this movie does. And this movie is emotionally manipulative in its own right. That's why it's like so irritating that it's like, it's the dog immediately. I understand. And I remember when we had the conversation about Superman, that I believe I may have been the only one who was kinder about the dog than I think you may have been. But I'm sad to not see the dog in this movie for different reasons. I'm actually sad to not see the dog in this movie while I understand where you're coming from totally. Like, it was a big part of the last movie. I'm sad to see the dog not in this movie because the way they took the dog out of the movie is emotionally manipulative in a way that didn't need to be. Like, I know why they got rid of it, but also it feels like they got rid of the dog to keep the budget of the movie down.
Yeah, since it's all CG all the fucking time.
Right. It's like not a real dog. Like, part of me as the cynical, movie watcher, part of the industry like you and I are, I'm just like, well, it's just like a cost saving measure. They just didn't want the dog in the movie because they'd have like every single shot of this movie would be a CGI shot. Because if you had the dog, even if it's just a cutaway, it's just an empty scene with the dog doing some stupid shit, and Millie Alcock can, shoot a glance and look at what the dog's doing. That's still, God knows how much money you got to pay people to make. Like, it's not free. So the fact that the dog is in 5 scenes in this movie, when in the Superman movie, he's in every scene, is just, that's a cost saving measure. That's what it strikes me as.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. And yeah, there were a few times where I was just like, okay, was there somebody on set with her pretending to be the dog? Like, where are those images kind of thing? Like, what was that White Fang movie with Harrison Ford, right?
Oh, I'm sure we'll get to figure out.
Oh, fuck, we're going to have to watch it.
We are going to have to fucking watch that. It is are you talking about that or the Liam? No, I guess you are talking about the like movie about the the book, the Jack London book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where it's like the eye line of like, was there a guy crawling around as a dog, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there was.
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
So yeah, was there somebody with like a hand puppet for crypto or yeah?
It was probably Sean Gunn.
And of course, every time they said crypto, I kept thinking of crypto coin, Bitcoin and stuff. So
it's the dog. It's the name of the dog. How dare you bring your
yes.
2026 prejudices to this completely PC film made in a lab somewhere so that no one is offended. That is probably the other thing about these movies that's just like kind of getting a little old, is unless the movie is fun and entertaining, it all feels very made in a lab somewhere by a bunch of committee members. And I'm just not interested in those kinds of movies anymore. Like, I'll watch them because these are the only kinds of movies like this. But when they're not good, they feel really like 8 million people. Like, I know that there's only 2 script writers or 3 script writers, but feels like a team of people made a decision at every step to like, how can we this and what's not offensive? And it's like, okay, like, Christ, you're just pulling anything and I don't disagree with making sure that there are certain kinds of things in movies that will trigger people, but like, it can go too far, and it can get to the point where like, we're just sacrificing the soul of this movie purely for capitalist gains. Because as far as I'm concerned, I look at that as a capitalist thing. Like, you're making sure it appeals to and offends the least so that it can make the most. And if people don't see that that's what it is, like, you're being taken by them. Because like, female Ghostbusters should not have made any money, not because it's a bunch of women in that movie, but because it's a bad movie that's unfunny. Like, it's just not funny. It is subjectively unfunny. Like, and objectively, it's not a great movie. I understand if subjectively my comedy and that comedy doesn't mix. So subjectively, I can say it's unfunny, but it's not a funny movie. It's not a well-made movie. And that's the same with this movie, just like Captain Marvel. This isn't a well-made movie. And so it feels like the kind of movie that had 18 people making decisions about it. It's just, even with Millie Alcock as Supergirl killing someone at the end of the movie, that is the most interesting that character gets in the entirety of the movie is in that scene, because we get to see some level of something of the character. Everything else just feels very dead on arrival, which is so bizarre because this is the second movie in this universe. And like, okay, you're going to reboot it again in 5 years because this movie's not doing well. It's not like this movie's making buku bucks at the box office. It's really not.
I hate it. I fucking hate this whole thing where it's this weird, like, self-fulfilling prophecy where people are like, oh, women-led movies just don't make money. So then they hedge their bets with all of this stuff and they make these bad movies and they're like, see what I tell you, that women-led movies can't do it. And it's like, but is this really a woman-led movie? Because you keep throwing in all these fucking male characters that are just like distracting us from the rest of the narrative.
Yeah, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like women Ghostbusters dies on its own petard, but it's not because it's women. You would put men in that movie with those jokes, it would have still been unfunny.
Oh God, yeah.
Again, subjectively, I didn't like the comedy, but I think objectively, it's also rather unfunny. And the gags and the repeated gags they go to, and that's the thing. Like you just said, this movie objectively is not a great movie. Like, it's just not a well-made movie. It just kind of rambles all over the place. It's uninteresting. And the main character, who is a god, effectively, has to be artificially sidelined over and over again because they don't know how to write the character otherwise. That was the thing about the Superman movie that was so interesting, is Superman felt like a real person. Like, he feels like a dorky dipshit. And man, when you see him on screen in this movie, he acts that same way. He's like, gosh, golly gee, I'm from Kansas. And like, I know people like that. So I believe that version of Superman. I don't know what they're going for with Millie Alcock's Supergirl. It's just because we never get a sense of her character in this movie because she's effectively sidelined the whole film. Even in her own flashback, she's sidelined. We see more David Krumholtz in the flashbacks than we do of her.
Interesting choice to have them all speaking Kryptonian in the flashback scenes.
Well, I think it's trying to maybe kind of give more ammunition to what happened in Superman, where that's the whole part of like Superman thinking that his parents are good people, but it turns out they're not, is because they're speaking Kryptonian, not English. So I wonder if they're still just trying to like style Bible keep with that from the last movie. It doesn't do anything. It's honestly just kind of like fucking random. Like, it's just random. Like, okay, we as the audience don't care, I guess. I don't know. Superman and again, it's the whole Supergirl is speaking Kryptonian when she shows up on Earth. So they have to explain that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it was a weird choice to do because it's like, okay, they're really leaning into it, that this is a different language and we are subtitling everything. And after a while, I was just like, wow, they are having some very long speeches. And I was literally just kind of in awe of these actors on Krypton. I'm not sure what this language was based off of. I mean, but because it didn't necessarily sound like it was a romance language necessarily, but you know, hey, more power to them. You're going to say all this dialogue and you're going to say it in a different language that doesn't even exist.
I applaud them for it, but at the same time, it's hard to get really good performances out of actors when they're saying effectively nonsense. You know, when you learn another language, you're learning another language, but you're still conveying a message that's understood by people. This is fake. You know, it's surprising when I think about how much they've gotten out of Lord of the Rings with, you know, Quenya and all the languages that Tolkien created. But that's because Tolkien was a linguist and he knew what the fuck he was doing. And Game of Thrones, I think, is maybe the closest that it's ever gotten, other than, and this for me is genuinely like the thing that nails it, other than Lord of the Rings, but again, it comes from someone who is singular of nature and mind, is Klingon in Star Trek. Like, that's the real success story of like a fake language turned real. And then you have Dothraki in Game of Thrones, which also feels very real, but that's because the people involved in making it did it intentionally. Here, it's just like bullshit gobbledygook that's hard to get good performances out of anyone. And again, the last movie knew that, which is why they didn't beat us over the head with it. That's why it was like part of the narrative, not a stumbling block where you have David Krumholtz just being asked to speak a fake language and look convincing while doing so, which, to your point, David Krumholtz is an actor that I've been watching since I was a child because he plays Bernard in Santa Claus. And one of the lines from that movie I say often to my parents, check the tag on their clothes. Did we make this? That's a David Krumholtz line. That the fact that he's in this movie is more or less wasted, which is crazy to say on an actor like David Krumholtz, who's been in a million bajillion things at this point. But just giving him fake lines to say, just even he can't do anything about it.
No, and I really like him a lot as well. And yeah, I've kind of watched him grow up from when he was just a little kid. And yeah, I was super thrilled. I got to talk to him about a indie movie that he made last year. And I was just like, oh my God, talking to David Krumholtz. I was just like, I wanted to geek out so hard. I wanted to tell him that we watch Serenity every single Sunday. So that his whole like, kill me, Mal, kill me with a sword. How weird is that? Like that whole thing, like pretty much all of his lines, like I'm, say verbatim. And it's like, okay, yeah, he's a great actor. I really have a lot of fun watching him. But yeah, I was like, okay, I'm not able to see him in his full because I'm not able to hear him speaking English.
Yeah. I whenever I think of him other than him in Santa Claus as Bernard, I always think of him in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle because he's like he and I forget the other actor because I hilariously have never really sat down to sit through any of the American Pie movies, but I think he's one of the other guy who Krumholtz is with is from American Pie, I believe. Like, I just remember them as kind of the friends of Harold and Kumar. But that's like, again, that's one of the many things that I know he's in that I've seen. It's a standout, but this is not ever going to be one of them. And I'm disappointed because just having him in something as her dad, like those scenes between the two of them could have had some emotional resonance, and the film more or less robs itself of that genuinely. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know why you're doing that. And you mentioned it before, and I kind of just glossed over it because I think I responded to something else you had said. It grinds the film to a fucking halt.
Oh yeah,
like
the pacing of this movie.
Good
it's like
night.
Oh yeah, and I understand. Like, oh well, why is she like this? Okay, well here you go. But it's
Still
like,
don't know why. To be honest with you,
yeah, really, I don't get a whole lot. It's like, yeah.
I know why she is the way she is now because of this movie, but I don't understand where she was coming into this movie. And the fact that the movie tried to tell me why or how she was coming into this movie and fails means that I don't see the full arc that they're trying to get to. I see about half of it because you're effectively giving me the center point while trying to tell me about everything that came before. And you got to nail that. And you got to have people talking in English or at least some dialogue that's a real dialogue because it just people just going blah, 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 blah. It's like you're really asking these actors to do a lot. Like, and
oh yeah,
they're not able to, not because of them, but because I think you just hamstrung them immediately.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I really wanted to like this movie. I know I was reading horrible things people were saying about this poor actress. And I was like,
Lily Alcock.
Yeah, she's just all of these people. Like I saw this thing on, I can't remember which one it was. It was like basically like she's the female equivalent of Will Poulter. And I was just like, that's pretty harsh, dude. And like,
were they saying that in a bad way or a good way?
Looks wise. Like, I think Will Poulter is not ugly, but a lot of people think that he's like just been beaten with the ugly stick.
Have they seen what Will Poulter looks like now?
I know, right?
Are they out of it? Have they seen The Bear? Like, I know that, again, like The Bear's most recent season just came out and I haven't watched it yet, so maybe this changed, but that show had like sexy people in every position, including Will Poulter, who's like really good looking now. Like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Man, what are the fucking people's expectations must just be? What?
I don't get it. I'm surprised people aren't complaining that her teeth aren't perfect. It's just like, oh, for fuck's sakes, guys.
She's fucking Australian, for God's sakes. Like, what do people want? Like, she's a real human being. She's not a character. She's not actually, not fictional characters. Fictional characters. These are real person playing. Jesus Christ. Some people, man.
I know. It's disgusting that they were coming for her looks. I'm like, she's very attractive, guys. And she's a great actress. I was really happy with some of her scenes where she was allowed to act. She was giving a really good performance.
I think it's really sad because, and you said it like, like Captain Marvel. This movie is light years better than Captain Marvel, but it will be compared to Captain Marvel in the same breath because it's a, like you said, female-led superhero movie, but similarly to Captain Marvel, that movie had Jude Law in it, for fuck's sake. Like, they didn't trust Brie Larson to carry that movie, so they put Jude Law in it. Now, I will say that movie's not good. This movie, I think, is better. This movie just is less focused. At least Captain Marvel was focused. It was a failure, but it was a focused failure. This is unfocused, and I think it being unfocused makes it feel worse than it would otherwise. And again, I honestly think, and this is me personally, not every fucking movie in this DCU needs to have the James Gunn shit. And please don't do like that was the whole problem with Zack Snyder's grim, dark fantasy of superheroes being boring and uninteresting was everybody's stuff's got a hue to mine. And anything that didn't was the most interesting stuff that they did. Like when James Wan was like, I'm going to make kind of a horror movie with Aquaman. And it kind of worked in that first one. I had no interest in seeing the second one because I'm not a masochist, at least not to that extent.
No.
But it's such a bummer that the first movie after the one that was actually a success, because that Superman movie was successful, is just trying to ape Superman and doing it poorly when it should have literally just been its own thing. And juxtaposing the dichotomy between the two characters, her being so much different than him, but they both came from the same planet. That was like such an obvious starting point, and they just missed it by a country mile. Like that should have been the starting point. Is she's more like the reality of the film should have been she should have been the one that Superman's parents should have sent to Earth to conquer them, and Superman was the one that they sent instead, this dope who ends up being a farm boy, and if she had gone to Earth, she would have been the one to take them over. That should have been the starting point for this, because that's what they're kind of getting at. I feel like they show that like her parents were more empathetic and sympathetic and loving and kind and caring, and I don't want to do what my brother is doing and sending his son to Earth to conquer them. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, you're allowed your own destiny. There's moments of that in this movie, but they just fucking missed it. They just fucking missed it. And this movie for me at the end of the year may be the biggest missed opportunity other than Jackass. And it's very funny that we're talking about both of these movies effectively in the same week, because they are both failures effectively for the same reason. They're just a big missed opportunity to do something. This movie had nothing to really kowtow to. This is the second movie in all this. So the fact that it's like, we got to do the James Gunn thing again, probably is the worst thing about this movie, honestly.
I can't remember whose review I was listening to, but somebody was talking about the Mr. Terrific scene where he comes in and just kicks all this ass and stuff, and it's all set to a song, just like a James Gunn thing would do. And I was like, oh yeah, they do the exact same thing here. And I was just like, no, I don't think they do, because I think the Mr. Terrific stuff was done a lot better.
Yeah, like that James Gunn directed movie had that scene because it's a fucking James Gunn directed movie. Like,
right.
Don't do that here because it doesn't need it here. You're not James Gunn. And maybe this is James Gunn's effect on the script because he doesn't have a credit on the script, but come on, like, I know, if people don't know.
We've all heard those tapes, Karen. We know what is going on. None of this Babe in the Woods stuff.
That's right. We know.
Mm-hmm.
No, taste it. You're fucked. Bye-bye, dickhead. Like, we know that James Gunn had an effect on this script, either directly or indirect. I hope and pray that it was not him saying, do my stuff like this. But I worry because he didn't stop them from doing that either. And that's the problem. Is Clayface going to open with Nearer My God to Thee? Like, I don't know. Like, what the fuck is going on anymore? Like, stop with the needle drops.
It'll be Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen.
Oh, I thought it was going to be the Buckley version.
Well, yeah, maybe they'll go for the cheap cover version, since that's how they end this movie, with a cover version of a song that is so popular, even I know it. And I was like, what? Why are you doing this?
Well, because it's women, and they can't have a song with men that's sung by men originally in its original form, so they had to find the female cover. Like, it's stuff like that where I'm just like, who fucking cares? There was an article online where they're like, we went through 49 different songs or some shit to get to the most obvious nail on the head song, the one that's describing the scene that she's in. Like, that's too much, guys. Like, subtlety, thy name is not Supergirl, clearly. Like, there's no subtlety here. And I don't understand, because James Gunn, for all of his problems, is still somewhat of a subtle guy. More so subtle than this, even. This is Suicide Squad. This is David Goyer level shit, where it's just like, don't you get it? Like, I'm surprised they didn't have Lobo say, isn't that right, bub? Because I mean, again, that's what Lobo was more or less in response to directly, is he's kind of like Space Wolverine, more or less. I mean, if you look at his design, it's like Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
it's like a Wolverine helmet painted on this guy's face, more or less, like with the kind of the lines around his eyes. I don't understand why we're doing this already, because I think that was maybe our concern at the end of the Superman podcast a year ago was, what if the next movie is bad, or kind of just like reheated leftovers of this movie? And that is what they did.
Oh yeah.
I would assume it's because that movie worked. And so they were like, we're just going to add more of that to this because people liked it, right? And it's like, I mean, people liked it, but we liked the other things and that. It wasn't just that. Nobody showed up because it was a James Gunn movie. Like, people showed up because they wanted to see a new Superman movie. And we're probably glad that it was James Gunn making. But I don't think anyone's like, it's a James Gunn movie, I gotta go see it. Like, if that person is you, you're probably the most disappointed person going to see this movie, because this really feels like just James Gunn set dressing with the barest minimum of a plot. Barest minimum of a plot. This is one of those movies, too, that has no plot. Just like plods along. The character falls from one scene to another, and that's it.
What is the bad guy's plan? Does he have a plan, or is it just because he's not really trafficking these girls? They call them the brides because they saw
Mad Max.
Yes, exactly. Because these guys are all males and they need to kidnap women and rape them in order to propagate their race, I guess. Like, we saw no children. And I don't really know what their plan is. I don't know what motivates this guy to do what he's doing. And I'm not trying to be funny or anything.
No,
I just honestly, there's nothing. We get nothing. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I'm tired of the whole, I'm going to take over the universe kind of thing. But it's like, yeah, there's got to be a little bit more here than just I kidnap women and that's it.
Yeah.
And that scene where the family sells her out, and then they end up like killing the family, but then they kill the daughter too. I was just like, this is awful. Like, this is the point of the movie where I was like, can she just fly around the planet backwards so that we reverse time? Because there's one moment where I think somebody says it might be, you can't go back in time or something like that. I was like, well, actually, I've seen Superman do that before.
And there's a character called the Flash, and there's this thing called the Flash Force, and there's literally a cosmic treadwheel, motherfuckers, or treadmill. Like, come on, like, you can. Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the universe of superheroes. So I wanted to mention this to you because, again, like, this, I think this is the best version of these kinds of movies. Every time we watch one of these movies now, I just wish I was watching Furiosa, genuine, because that's like the best version of these kinds of movies, right? Like, even though it's not as good as the movie that it came after, Furiosa, I think, is still the best. We have a female-led action movie, and there is a genuine female presence and force at the front of that movie that you feel from start to finish, and she's not a fucking damsel in distress at any point in that movie, other than when she's like a child, I guess, which is the acceptable and understandable part because that's the backstory of the character. No one has been able to get close to Furiosa, and that's a contemporary one. I'm sure you'll tell me, I'm sure you could rattle off plenty of female protagonists as badass films from the 90s, 80s, and 70s that I have not seen. But Furiosa is the contemporary one that I think of when I watch a movie like this that just can't even give us a reason as to why the things are happening. And Furiosa spent like probably too much time telling us why the things happened, frankly. But by the end of that movie, I felt like I went on a journey with the director that was well-deserved. And this movie, like, wanted me to get on that same level of, like, this character's going on an arc, and we want to see her accepting her position in the world by the end of the movie. And I don't get there with this character in this movie at all.
No, I don't. Like I said, I wanted this to be better. I wanted to like it. There were quite a few moments where I was just like, how much longer is this film? Because I'm really kind of bored. And I'm not, again, trying to be funny.
It's not even 2 hours, man.
I know.
I'd like to point out this movie's budget was literally the same, within a couple $1 million more or less, as Furiosa.
Yeah.
And this movie has made half as much as that one.
Yeah, but this movie has all kinds of planets and stuff. They go all over the place.
Cool. It's about as interesting as a lot of those later Star Wars films. Here is City Planet. Here is Dirt Planet. Here is Forest Planet. Like, okay, but I'm sorry, but CGI is not impressive anymore.
Uh-uh.
It's just not. Like, we are in a post CGI universe now where if you can make these things on your own, someone else making them is no longer that interesting or exciting or compelling. And I think what will always be more interesting and compelling to do things in camera, practically, for real, as opposed to CGI. And the fact that CGI is so readily available now, I mean, Sora no longer exists, but the things you could make in Sora were literally things that people make with hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in studios and release them, and it looks no better and no worse in a lot of ways. If that is the case and you can do that on an iPhone app, it takes a lot more than just showing us something impressive with CGI to get us excited anymore. And the tastes are changing so much with people going out to the movies, clearly, that just having a female-led superhero movie ain't gonna cut it anymore. I'm not sure it ever cut it, but it's not gonna cut it now, because I worry for the future of the DCU with as little money as this movie is making.
Yeah. I mean, they probably cannot stop Man of Tomorrow. That movie's going to have to be a fantastic hit, or else this whole thing is on the chopping block. And this new DC reboot is going to be 3 movies long, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, 4, because Clayface comes out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Clayface comes out in the fall, and there is a slight chance that Clayface is, a low-budget movie that makes up for the loss of this movie. Because if Clayface has any sort of sense of mind, they will attempt to position it as a thing that people who saw Obsession and Backrooms would go and see. It's that movie in this universe. And that would be the smartest thing to do, because those movies made so much fucking money that the kid who made Obsession has like a 6-7 figure first look deal now. And he hasn't even said what the fuck he's doing, other than I think he's maybe doing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie now as his second project. Like, Jesus goddamn Christ. Like, that's what happens when you make money in this industry, is they will back up a truck to your house. So that's the kind of money that Clayface is going to have to make if this movie doesn't bail itself out of a hole. And I don't know how it can. There's nothing they can do at this point. This movie, like you said, the reaction online was nowhere near interest or excitement, or even people wanting to have something interesting to say other than Millie Alcock is a bad actress and is ugly. Like, wow, great. So it's going to have to make a lot of money in the fall. I'm going to go see it because it looks interesting, but it also seems like it should probably be in that Batman universe that our friend Richard's buddy Matt is constructing, because it seems, just by the trailers I've seen, tonally at odds with this movie and the last movie especially. But if they can work that into it, cool. But they've made it clear that Batman's no part of any of this. And if Batman's no part of any of this, but Clayface is like Batman, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I just don't, because this movie and the last movie are so of a piece, Man of Tomorrow could come out, be the end of this, and you could just say, well, it was a trilogy of movies. But with Clayface coming out, it's like, again, you've called your shot. You've done that dark universe thing where you've said there's all these other movies coming out and we're doing all these things, and James Mangold's making a Swamp Thing movie. It's like, maybe just worry about this movie. We'll get to the next one. Because this is embarrassing when it fails. It's hilariously embarrassing, frankly.
It's the dark universe. It's it's Bush coming out on the front of that aircraft carrier with the mission accomplished sign behind him, like, oh yeah, we're going to do all this stuff, or we've done all this stuff. It's like, you look now at the Marvel lineups of the past, where it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and this. No, I'm saying, like, oh yeah, we're going to have Armor Wars, or we're going to have this, and we're going to have, it's like all of these things. You look at all like the extra scenes from the movies where you're like, are they ever going to come back to this? Are we ever going to see Brett Goldstein come back as Hercules?
Thank you for mentioning that. My favorite one-off is, like, as a Ted Lasso fan, I was like, okay, why is he in this? We'll never find out. Literally.
Nope. Yep. Or here's that horrible computer-generated Patton Oswalt character at the end of the Eternals and stuff with Harry Styles. It's like, well, I don't think we're going to see this one either.
Remember Blade? Yeah. Remember how Blade showed up by voice at the end of the Eternals? Yeah. And we're still waiting for that. Like, yeah, there is a page on the MCU like wiki, it is 72 projects long. And some of those are probably like duplicate entries, but there's 72 entries on that page. And that's just for like some things as characters and some things as literal whole shows, movies, like you've said, things that don't go anywhere. We could sit and just go fucking back and forth playing ping pong with all these ideas. And it doesn't ever seem to click with any of them that like we should maybe not get ahead of ourselves here, because you just like focus, because if you focus on what you're doing now, it has a better chance of being a success than if you're worried about what you're going to make in the future. Look at the dudes from Game of Thrones. They never got to make that Star Wars movie. Josh Trank never got to make that Boba Fett movie. If you fuck up this thing now, the logic of you get to do something in the future kind of dries up immediately. And I don't understand why people don't realize. By the way, the most funny canceled project for me, by the way, of all the MCU stuff will forever and always be Avengers Kang Dynasty. Just
oh god,
the funniest one, right? Like the thing that they literally had a whole movie fucking arm thing, like I guess whatever they call that phase, building up to another one of these, and they're just like, guess some ants killed him.
Right.
Jonathan Majors, everybody. Yeah, it's weird to call your shot and miss, and I hope that this is not one of those. I hope that the next movie, Clayface, is good. I hope that Man of Tomorrow is good, but boy, I have so little faith now. 2 movies in, and that is what was the second movie after Iron Man? Was it Captain America or Iron Man 2?
Oh, I think Thor was right around there as well, and Captain America. Yeah.
So it can be done. You can escape velocity of middling sequels or entries into your franchise.
Yeah. I mean, Ragnarok was fantastic and made the second one was so terrible.
Oh, I was just talking about the MCU as a whole. Like the MCU managed to escape like being drugged down by kind of a mediocre Captain America and a mediocre Thor, but those movies still made money. Like that's the thing. Ultimately, good or bad, to make more, you gotta be making money. And this movie so far has made less than half of its budget, and that's bad for a movie that cost almost $200 million. That's bad. And because we always end these kind of like franchisey podcasts talking about like, where do we think this is going? Genuinely, if they don't figure out what the fuck they're doing with these next 2 movies, it's going nowhere. And that they will not do the DCEU again. Mark my words. They won't go. Warner Brothers will more than likely sell DC before they do that shit again and go 8 or 12 or however many movies in it was before they're just like, we're going to reboot it again. Like, they're not going to do that again. They'll cut it off at like 3 or 4 movies. And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Disappointing new movies, Mike. Why are we going to see new movies? What are we doing here? What are we doing to ourselves?
I don't know. I mean, when's it going to stop? When are we going to go see a good movie this year?
I don't know. Have we seen one? Mortal Kombat 2? Grogu?
Yeah. I mean,
Disclosure Day? No.
No, they've been kind of fair to middling with even the good, quote unquote, good ones.
I mean, I saw Backrooms. We didn't talk about that, you and I, but that was pretty good. I saw The Mummy. That was okay, but it was pretty much as Evil Dead, but it was at least interesting and something different and different as much as it could be. Yeah, I don't know why we haven't seen anything good. Was the last good thing we saw together Superman a year ago?
It might be.
Can't be that. Oh, God. Yikes. Well, we're going to talk about Spider-Man. I think that's the next like superhero thing we're going to do in the future for anyone who's interested in our coverage of those kinds of things. That's probably the next superhero thing we cover. So it'll be a complete pivot away from this. It'll be an MCU thing. And remains to be seen if it's going to be good. But until then, you can find Mike and I talking podcasts, both our own podcasts, on other people's podcasts, but mostly our own, at weirdingwaymedia.com, where this show and so many other shows can be found, like Mike's podcast, The Projection Booth, my podcast, The Kulturecast, and Susan Lambert Haddam's podcast, 80s TV Ladies. You can find all those at weirdingwaymedia.com. If you want to kick a couple dollars our way, patreon.com/projection booth and patreon.com/culturecaster, where you can go and get financially involved with our shows. You get things for giving us money. That's how it should work. So there you go. If you don't want to do anything financial, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes, Spotify, and if you're on YouTube, this is a podcast. Please remind yourself that people are allowed to talk about things without seeing the video. It's called radio. It's existed for a long time. Mike, I guess I would say thank you, but I don't know whose idea this was. Maybe it was mine. Could have been yours.
I knew I was going to see these movies. So,
might as well talk about them, right?
Might as well. Yeah. What's our next one?
I don't know.
Okay.
God help us, whatever it is, because at this point we're like 0 for 5 this year. So maybe it won't be 0 for 6. Who knows? I guess we'll just have to find out on the next episode.